How do you stock up a homestead pantry? Today we're going to talk about it. G'day there, I'm Dana from Pewakaka Valley Homestead, and today, along with a video on surviving a recession and depression, which I've just recorded, which I presume will come out before this one, I'm also going to today talk about how to stock up a pantry. Having a well-stocked pantry, whoa, wobbling the camera. Having a well-stocked pantry is really crucial to getting through financial hard times, but also just simply not having to go to the supermarket all the time can be really helpful. So we have a sort of food stash that we've put together. We've got a hallway cupboard in which we keep our canned goods that I have jarred up from the garden, and it's also kind of spewed over into our laundry. Luckily our laundry is quite large, so in our laundry we keep our potatoes and our onions, that sort of thing, as well as I've put in a big movable shelf. Actually it wasn't a movable shelf, it was a garage storage unit that I've bought casters and attached them to the bottom so I can move it out of the way, and I've got big flexi tubs on it that I now store a stash of rice and flour and sugar and pasta and those sorts of things in, so that we've always got a little bit extra stashed away there. The upside to having a well-stocked pantry is it makes you a lot more resilient. If hard times hit, you can kind of treat your well-stocked pantry slash storage room slash cold store, whatever you happen to have, as a bit of a savings account where you've put the money away, you've put it into food, and as long as you've stored that food really well, it's there to save you later on when money's a bit more tight. Food security is defined as just basically the ability to eat when your food supply is cut off. So having a well-stocked pantry at home, ideally you would have at least a couple of weeks worth of food. Personally, we're aiming to be able to stock up for at least a couple of months worth of food stored, and then obviously we have the garden and we're lucky enough to have some land, so we've got some animals on the hoof as well. But I know that not everyone can do that, but everyone can have a little extra stored away. You can make even use of space under beds and that sort of place. You don't even have to have a proper cold store. A lot of dry goods will store really happily just at room temperature. Now, if you're wanting to create a really well-stocked pantry and a bit of food storage, one of the first things you need to do is take an itinerary of everything you've got and write down everything you think you need as well. So if your family usually goes through, say, a kilo of flour a week, and you're wanting to put together a 3-month stash of flour, so that's 12 weeks, so you'll need 12 kilos tucked away. So it can be as simple as that. You work out basically what you already use and start working out how much you're going to need to get you through whatever time period you've decided to aim for. Make sure you only stash food that you're actually going to eat, because there's no point in buying a whole lot of dehydrated vegetables that you're never planning on cooking with. The idea of having a food storage is that you can rotate through and that you can use the older stock and replenish it with new stock, and so you've always got the fresh stuff ready, stored ready for you to use if you need it. So only include food you're going to eat, and also remember to include things like pet food or non-perishable bathroom items, toothpaste, deodorant, those sorts of things, maybe some extra shampoo, dishwashing liquid, all those sorts of things that you need to buy at the supermarket on a regular basis. You can have a stash of that stored up at home somewhere. Creating a food storage stash can be really expensive, and there are two different ways of going about it. One is to splash out all at once and buy 3 months worth of food and then just start rotating from there. That's not always achievable for most people, so what I recommend you do is make yourself a big list of what you're aiming for, and then start carefully every week or two, depending on what the budget allows for. Try and spend an extra $5 to $20 and get yourself some of the big dry goods that are on special and the canned goods that you use. And if you just add an extra few of those to your trolley every week, you'll slowly but surely build up quite a stash. So what sort of food do you need in your well-stocked pantry? The first thing you probably want to be aiming for is the dry goods that you are relying on the store for. So rice, pasta, beans, lentils, flour, sugar, salt, herbs, spices, all those sorts of things that are dried but you use quite regularly and that will store well, but and you can buy them in bulk. Often you might find that you can get hold of a catering company or a catering supply company and order, you know, 20 kilos or 50 pounds of flour at the same time, or sugar, or we have bought a whole lot of herbs and spices in these really big 1 kilo packs, and it actually worked out per 100 grams significantly cheaper than buying them at the supermarket. So we have our herbs and spices now in nice big jars. Same with a lot of baking supplies. We bought like chocolate drops. I bought them in a 3 kilo bag and they were cheaper than buying them in the small 300 gram bag. Don't forget about your other staples that you don't think you can live without. Things like coffee and tea. A hot chocolate maybe, if that's a thing for you. Actual chocolate if it's a thing for you, like it is for me. Keeping those sorts of things on hand will make life a lot easier if you need to live out of your pantry for a certain amount of time. Other things to consider are things like oil, butter, milk powder, canned fish, canned meat, canned fruit, canned vegetables if that's the way you want to go, pasta sauces, all those sorts of things that you use quite regularly. So the first thing I would do is aim to get the dry floury sort of ingredients, and then once I've got a good stash of those, they're the basics. If your food supply got cut off, you could live off some basic sourdough bread. You could. It wouldn't be awesome and it wouldn't be particularly nutritious, but you could live off it. So try and get those really basic carbohydrate life-saving sort of things first, and then after that you can start adding the more flavoursome options and your things like canned beans and those sorts of things that will add a bit more nutrition, a bit more protein to it. The other thing I make sure that I stock up on is canning supplies. We do grow a lot of our own fruit and vegetables here, and to be able to can it so we can preserve it for later is really important to the way we live here. And what happened during the big crisis that was this year was that canning supplies all ran out. No one could go to the factories to produce more, and everyone panicked and bought a whole lot, and so the shops all sort of ran out. So every couple of weeks I'm buying extra canning seals. I've got plenty of jars. If you need to get more jars, go to the local second-hand store. You can often find them there for significantly cheaper than buying them new anywhere else. Make sure you've got plenty of bands, labels, whatever it is that you want to use as well. And just put them in some boxes and store them somewhere. They don't even have to be kept in your pantry because they're just jars. So some other tips I have for getting these as cheaply as possible. One, learn some recipes that actually use them. If you don't usually eat lentils and beans, they are a really good thing to have stored away, but you need to learn how to use them, how to prepare them, so that you can rotate through your stock. And also, to be honest, they're quite a cheap way of eating as well. So if that's something that you're considering, make sure you get some good recipes under your belt now that you know you like, that the family will eat. Do make use of coupons and specials and all those sorts of things where you can save money buying the big bulk amounts of food. If they're 4 for $1 or whatever they are, get all 4. Make sure you know that you've got somewhere to store them at home, that the mice and rats and weevils and whatever else might be out to get your food cannot get to. Somewhere that's not too hot and not too cold, so that food will store well. But make sure you get those deals. If you get coupons, by all means cut them out, get as many as you can. Also in your stash, make sure you've got plenty of seeds for the coming season if you're planning on growing a garden. Again, one of the first things that people panic bought was seeds. I didn't have to panic buy because I already had plenty, and so it's a really good idea to know what you're planning on growing in your garden and get your seeds as soon as you possibly can so that you've got them ready for your next season. And along with that, I try my best, and I know a lot of other people do too, to grow sort of those heritage varieties, where your heritage ones you can keep your own seeds. So again, it reduces, one, your outgoing, so you're not having to buy seed every year, and two, reduces your reliance on someone else providing your seed for every year. And the next and probably final thing I have is to label everything with a marker pen. Marker pen the date on them, and then that will help you be able to rotate through and effectively making sure you're using the older stock first, so that your fresher stock is always going to be the one that you store. We don't have a big pantry in our kitchen, I have open shelves with jars. We have what we call the pantry cupboard, which is where we throw a whole lot of the extra spare things. And honestly, it's a bit of a landslide, but that's alright. And then our extras go through in the laundry and our big storage bins through there. It's just a matter of finding what works for you, find what hidey hole cupboards that you've got that you can sneak extra things into, and make sure that you've got plenty of big bins that you can store stuff in. I hope you found that video useful. If you have, hit the like button, consider subscribing to our channel. We bring you videos twice a week on growing, preserving your own food and other homesteading bits and pieces. We'll see you in the next one.